We are ready, Mr. President, when you are.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this August 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Boards of Directors to order. So I'll lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and appropriately address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I didn't hear anyone, but Mike, is Mike Schaefer there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Would you do the invocation for us, please?
If you'd all reflect for a moment and just ask for guidance in this meeting this evening. Make sure that the decisions we make are in the best interest of those parties that are involved. We ask that you look over those that can't be with us, except for the ones that are in Michigan or Iowa. And we ask that you provide us, again, guidance to best serve the public.
Thank you, Mike. Now, Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Director Arthur Perry,
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer. Here. Vice President Michael Schaefer,
Here.
President Robert Uten.
Here. Nalani, were there any lead communications?
No, there were not, Mr. President.
And I don't believe we have any ceremonial matters or presentations.
Correct.
Is anyone wishing to speak in public comments?
Yes, we do have a speaker.
Who is it?
He's approaching the podium, sir.
Oh,
Jay Humphrey, Costa Mesa resident. I just want to relate a little story about your contractor, CR&R. We live on 1 block long street, literally 1 block long. It's surrounded by streets that are 2 and 3 blocks long, and before it gets to any major street. The reason I tell you that is because we've now three times had one side of the street on organics not collected. In the scheme of the world, that's not a big deal. However, it's not inconvenient to anybody here, anybody at CR&R. It's only inconvenient to the people on our street. And it's one side of the street. It'd be different if it was a missed pickup or a couple of people missed, but the whole side of the street. And it's happened 3 times. The first time it happened, we were picked up the very next day. You know, you say, okay, a truck broke down, all kinds of reasons why. The second time it missed was 4th of July weekend. So on Thursday, our pickup day, they had Friday to pick it up. Oh, but unfortunately, nobody could come on Friday to pick it up. So it was Tuesday before it was picked up. And so, well, the Monday was a holiday. So therefore, we called. They must have gotten 10, 15 calls from Thursday till Tuesday when it showed up. The next time it happened was a couple, 3 weeks ago. And again, they must have gotten 8 or 10 calls. I personally called early enough on Thursday when we hadn't gotten picked up to find out when it was, whether the truck was coming. No truck showed up. On Friday, I called first thing in the morning, and I was told that somebody'd be there. Nobody showed up. Saturday and Sunday, of course, nobody works, so nobody picked it up, and it finally got picked up on Monday. I'm sorry, that was the next to last time. This time, I called, got the same runaround on Thursday afternoon, and on Friday morning, I called your staff. And I talked to whoever your route manager is. She was very helpful. The truth of the matter is that I was angry, and she was patient, and we resolved the issue. Within about 20 minutes, a supervisor was at my door explaining to me that it was just that one of those problems. And I said, it can't be for 3 times. But he was there, and he followed up until my trash was picked up. Oh, he had to wait because the truck driver failed to pick it up this last week. Now, remember, the supervisor is in his truck, behind his truck, to pick up the trash. When this past pickup, my wife sends a message to that supervisor because we have his phone number, and he was a good man, and he took care of us. She sends a message to him with a picture of the time the organic truck went down the far side of the street, typical response, and had not been to our side in 2.5 hours. Again, if there's a broke down truck or what have it, that's understood. But happening 3 times in a row, absolutely, totally 3 times in a row, and on the 4th time, it takes a phone call to make sure the guy's coming back, because there's no doubt in our mind he wasn't coming back, because it was 4-something when she sent that, 3-something when she sent that, that picture of him going down the far side. It's not acceptable. And what the problem is that you guys took care of the problem. Your route manager, whatever she did, somebody was at my door, because we'd had at least 15 calls 3 times from the street to Waste Management, to CR&R. And CR&R, the same story over and over again. Well, we'll get some, it's too late today, but we'll get somebody there tomorrow. Then it's too late, we'll get the, oh, and the truck, oh, and it, I don't know what the reason is, and I really don't care what the reason is. Once is acceptable. Once in a while, 1 can is acceptable. The whole side of the street is simply somebody drove home and forgot to pick it up. And that needs to be ultimately corrected. I have no doubt on my side of the street it's taken care of. The supervisor, we have his card. He stands right behind making sure this stuff happens and gets taken care of properly. But you guys need to be aware of it, because it's your contractor, not your folks. Your folks took care of it. Absolutely, no offense or buts about it. But it was, and for that matter, the CR&R supervisor took care of it. No offense or buts about it. But CR&R, I'm sure that I'm not the only person that's been a problem to. So I just want you guys to be aware of that. I want you to be aware that I'm sure they don't want to hear this same process. But CR&R needs to get some people into the process that are actually customer service people that say, okay, we screwed up, let's fix this and get it fixed. Again, I understand broken down trucks. As I told the supervisor, I loaded trash one summer in San Diego for my job as a swamper. I know the job. I know what they have to do. I know what the problems of the trucks are. I know what the problems with the customers are. I know how customers do the wrong things. This was not anything like that. This was a matter of CR&R not doing their task, and not because they had a failure of trucks. My belief is that they don't have enough personnel because they're not living up to their contract. My concern there. Thank you, folks. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
Mr. President,
Yes,
I just had a follow-up maybe with Scott. Are you aware of that particular street?
What was the name of the street? And what? Oh, Sandwood. Yes, that is.
I was mad they had patience, and I give them a ton of credit. Call ended very nicely, for me anyway. It ended up, I don't think so. There was very quick order, and I appreciate that. But, didn't bother to call here until the third time.
would that gentleman step back up to the microphone, please? If he's talking to staff.
And just so you know, we had a presentation at our most recent study session from CR&R, and that you're not the only street. It's not just you. It's,
Fine, I didn't
it's-
think it was.
It's citywide. We have instituted some metrics to measure their performance going forward. So we do need to know these sorts of issues so that we can hold them accountable and ultimately fix the issues. That's why I asked our general manager to kind of make sure we're on
That's
that.
exactly why I came here, because I can yell at them all day long,
Yeah.
but in the end, they go home, they have their hot toddy and enjoy their evening, and my trash is out in the street. So I do understand that, and I do understand that your contractee, and that's why I came, because I accept the fact they have metrics that you need to, you can't do anything if you don't hear anything.
Mr. President, I
Believe
have
me,
a
I know that
question.
too.
I have a question while he's
Thank
still
you.
up here.
Anything further?
up there, Jay, stay up there.
I think we'll take that under advisement. I don't think the board has to respond to this issue. We can agendize it on a future meeting.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely correct, Mr. President. The board should not debate this matter. The manager can respond with everything he knows, but we should really kick it over for another meeting to have a discussion about.
Okay, Arlene, in comments at the end, if you'd like this to be agendized in a future meeting, that'd be the time to ask for it.
Mr. President, could I say something?
Who is this?
Art.
Oh, sure. Well, as long as it's not talking to the public.
I was going to ask Scott a question. Do we have a phone number available now that he could contact? Remember we talked about that? Is there a phone number available now?
Yes, there's a phone number available, but the frustration the residents are receiving is that they're not getting through to CR&R, and either they're put on hold a long period of time or they get kicked off the phone line. And so what we're experiencing is the residents are calling us, the staff. And it's not just Costa Mesa. In fact, we had a meeting with Newport Beach officials, and lo and behold, they're having the same experience in Newport Beach, where residents are so frustrated, they're calling the staff directly. And now their staff's getting inundated with all these calls. So there's something with their customer service team that we know that they just don't have adequate staff there. And for some reason, there got a lot of people calling in sick, and they're trying to address that issue. So what you're hearing today is just a frustration of getting through and calling us, because we can get the ball rolling when they call us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public wishing to make comment, or any other board member need to make comments in this discussion?
Am I allowed to?
It depends on what it's not a debate with the public.
All I wanted to know is, did this happen within 2 weeks' time?
Okay. Arlene, I didn't get the,
Did this happen as far as your pickup happen within the 2-week time limit? I was just curious.
probably not, because one of them was back at 4th of July and one of them was less than 2 weeks. My last pickup
Mhm.
was right because my wife sent a picture. So it was the pickup before that. So we're right at the whatever 2 weeks are.
Mhm.
I would suggest, seriously, and I don't want to add to your burden. That's not my job here. If the call place you make is to CR&R. And unfortunately, it appears to me that CR&R's ability to react to that stuff doesn't keep you in the loop as far as where some of those complaints come from and why. Because
Okay, I think this is repeating a discussion that we've heard. So I'd like to move on to move on with the rest of the agenda. We can agendize this and have a more in-depth discussion, but it's not agendized tonight, so. Nolani, would you scroll down to the next part of the meeting? Okay, the next part of the meeting is the consent calendar. Does any of the directors wish to pull an item for further discussion?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed or any abstentions? We don't have a public hearing. And I don't believe we have any general manager reports. So we'll go on down to item number F, the engineer's report. And is that Mark Esker?
Thank you, Mr. President. It is, but Mark Esser's on vacation, so your general manager will be doing these reports for you. So item number 1, the capital improvement project status report. I'm just available to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have questions for the substitute managed engineer?
Just a question. Remember I talked about the location of the 19th Street force main?
Yes.
Is that at the end of 19th Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at the very end of 19th Street, close to the Newport Beach Port.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
This is a receiving file, so I don't believe we have to vote on it. Item number 2, Scott, are you going to handle that also?
Yes, Mr. President. So before you is the agreement with Robin Hamers and Associates. This agreement is set to expire next week. So we have before you a new revised agreement. It's actually a longer term agreement. It's for 3 years with 2 one-year extensions. Right now, the way the relationship is working with Robin Hamers Associates and our new district engineer, Mark Esker, is working very well. And I think it's the way the board envisioned the two working together. For example, in the next 2 fiscal years, we will be able, we have on the books, we'll be able to complete 24 CIP projects totaling over $5.7 million. I don't believe we could have done that without this type of teamwork with Mark Esker and Robin Hamers Associates. The rate that Robin Hamers Associates is charging us is substantially less than most firms, engineering firms, as you'll see in your financial reports. The rate is between $115 to $130 an hour for Robin Hamers Associates. Typical hourly rate for an engineering service is about $185 to $220 an hour. So even though his rate went up a little bit, it's still significantly less than your standard engineering firm here in Orange County. So staff is recommending the board approve the agreement with Robin Hamers Associates.
Do any of the directors have questions or need to discuss this item?
Mr. President, I do.
Okay, Brett.
A couple of questions, Scott. The previous agreement, what was the dollar amount on that one? Oh, great.
No, I don't have that. I think all we had was it was an hourly rate. I don't have that number in front of me, so I'll have to get back to the board on that.
Okay. And then it does say, they're less than industry fees and per hours. Where's that information coming from?
Excuse me?
Their current proposal is less than typical industry fees and per hour rates. Where is that coming from, that info?
From previous RFPs that we performed. For example, we did an RFP for surveying this property, and it was a private firm, a smaller firm, and the rates were around $185 an hour. So based on our own assessment of getting bids from other firms, we believe that the $130 an hour is substantially less than what most firms are charging.
So when was the last time we got a bid from other firms for this?
Within the last month.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this did go out to bid or?
No, what I'm saying, when we went out and got proposals for surveying, the property was within the last month.
Okay.
And that was one example how we know what the going rate's going. And this was a smaller firm, just like RBH, and their hourly rate was substantially higher. It was almost double what RBH is charging.
And then how does this work? And maybe this is a question for Alan, but being that it's say estimated 380 plus, why don't we have to put it out to bid? Say get 3 bids on this.
We can if you want to do it, but I'm almost sure you're not going to get anything less than $130 an hour.
Oh, and maybe I'm just wondering, don't we have to?
Not necessarily, because this is the public works contract, so the board can sole source it. We've always sole sourced engineering services because the rates have been so low. When we go out to bid on projects, most firms don't even submit a bid because they know Rob undercuts them all the time.
And we're, if I could just add to Director Echo's question, is we actually cannot strictly bid engineering services. They have their own statute that says you can't just take the lowest bidder. And I think what we do with the Rob Hamer's contract is that there's a factor in there about his institutional knowledge that makes it worthwhile, and therefore the manager recommends to you that we stay with them for those reasons. But as Scott said, we're certainly allowed to bid it if you so chose.
Thank you.
Yes, well, I think bidding it is the wrong term. It's an RFP. Or maybe that's synonymous terms, but
No, you're
anyway.
good distinction.
And Mark Esker, had been with the Orange County Sand District for probably 25 years, and he did a lot of small projects work. So I think he's pretty intimately familiar with what the various engineering rates are. And he has that institutional knowledge that he brought with him. Any other members need to discuss this item?
I would.
Go ahead, Arlene.
Just want to ask Scott, don't we generally do a benchmark like we do on everything else? And know that what it's like, what people are actually bidding on and what they're having to pay?
Well, yes, we can definitely look at other public agencies when they receive proposals from engineering firms and what their hourly rates, like Orange County Sanitation District, they go out to bid all the time, and we can see what those going rates are. And again, I don't believe you're going to find an engineering firm hourly rate less than $130 an hour.
Yeah, thank you.
Bob,
Any other directors have questions for Scott?
yeah, this is Mike, Bob, real quick.
Yeah.
Question. This may be redundant or a foregone conclusion, but I assume the principal for RBH has approved the contract. It's not signed on our agenda, but I assume he's approved it.
Yes, yes.
That's all, Bob.
Okay, do I have a motion on this
Approval.
item?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone needing to abstain? If not, then we don't have a treasurer report. We did have the investment report in the above agenda. Attorney's reports.
Thanks, Mr. President. You have an action item before you to adopt the resolution making findings and conclusions with regard to the sewer spills that occurred near 1826 Pomona Avenue on or about February 25th and 27th, 2021. This is the memorialization of your action on July 30th after the public hearing. The resolution memorializes your decision not to grant the continuance that Mr. Bedford sought the day before the hearing. The resolution also sets forth your findings as to why this spill was caused by the property owner, how he had an opportunity to self-abate, or why providing the opportunity was waived, and also confirms that the charges were reasonable. If you approve the resolution, it will be served upon the owner. We will thereafter have the charges placed on the tax roll if Mr. Bedford chooses not to pay. It is recommended for your adoption.
Do any of the directors need to discuss this item further?
Quick question for staff, Bob.
Go ahead, Director Eccles.
This is Schaefer.
Oh, well, yeah, all I can do is try to distinguish your voices. I can't see you.
His voice is a lot deeper than mine.
Okay. Oh,
At our public hearing or whatever
whoever, whatever director wants to speak up.
I would speak if you'd stop. So after we had our hearing, thank you, did you ever hear back from the applicant, or have you heard anything from this person at all?
No, I haven't heard a thing.
Okay. That's all.
I'll move for approval of resolution 2021-945.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? If not, motion carries. And we're down to local meetings.
Mr. President, I did have two other brief items to mention.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
We had two public works cases decided recently that restricted the, when we have to pay prevailing prevailing wages on a construction project. One was the Mendoza case, and that contractor tried to say that if you have to do mobilization for the job, all the mobilization work had to be paid for also as a public work, even if it was off-site and, ended up being some part in the stream of the project. The court rejected that, and Supreme Court rejected that and said it was not going to expand the meaning of public works. And in another case, Busker, on Metrolink project, the applicant tried to say that the improvements to rolling stock, namely the trains, were public works. And it was a little more than the trains itself. It was the software and the something called the positive train control to prevent collisions. And there were actually towers built alongside the tracks and things. And I was a little surprised the Supreme Court found this was not a public work because it wasn't a fixed location. And therefore, they did not have to pay prevailing wages. So we got both of these cases that are positive for public agencies. And it's a nice balance to the one we had a few months back where they said the fellow who sorts on the recycling line, who sorts the materials, is entitled to prevailing wage. So that's kind of rounds out where we are with public works in the year 2021. And lastly, just to keep you updated on the Voting Rights Act litigation, that case is being litigated before the Supreme Court, and there's just been a flurry of amicus briefs filed, including the Attorney General, who's very actively involved in it now, and he's pleading with the Supreme Court not to dismiss it on a technicality, but to reach the merits of the case and let public agencies know what test applies in California. So obviously the bill's going way up, but it will be interesting, and it would be, hopefully we will get that final answer. And that's all I had, Mr. President. Unless there are any
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you, sir. Do any of the directors have any, need to discuss the items that Alan presented?
This is Mike. Can I ask Alan a question? Mr.
Sure.
President? Hey, Alan, so if they throw out the Voting Rights, if the Supreme Court doesn't approve the Voting Rights Act, does that affect a whole bunch of districts that have already gone to divisions? Or does it, the things stay status quo, the divisions that have been instituted?
Well, it stays status quo, but you can undo the districts then.
What about districts that are halfway through? For example, the Costa Mesa Sanitary District is 2/5 through. So if they throw out the Voting Rights Act, we in essence could say, we're not going to do divisions and everybody's at large again?
I'm not sure about the two that have been already elected from a district, but you certainly going forward, you can say, we're no longer going to do districts anymore.
Okay.
This is kind of like the issue with Mike Alvarez, where he didn't get, he ran again and he said, well, I wasn't running for that office. I'm running for the new office that's a district office, and therefore term limits don't apply to me. So it'd be a little bit of a mess, but those are good questions.
With your legal crystal ball, and I won't hold you to it, but how do you think the Supreme Court's going to act?
I don't think it's going to be overturned. We have the California Supreme Court is fairly liberal, and I don't know that they've made a great argument. I think the legislature needs to fix this, not the Supreme Court.
And lastly, is this going to put a damper on Mr. what's his name from Malibu, the attorney that?
Oh, certainly. He's all involved in this, and if he loses this case, he's got a whole bunch of problems, but
He gonna have to refund a whole bunch of money?
no, I don't think so, because it's already been awarded. So I think the decision will be prospective, but that's another good question.
Yeah, thank you for staying on top of this. I really appreciate it's, I mean, the ship's already sailed with we're gonna do what we need to do, but it's really interesting to keep abreast of it, and I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of invested in that case.
I want to see lawyers refund.
Yeah, and
This-
refund is probably not the right word. Let's call it a rebate or a dividend or something.
Mr. President, can I say something?
Sure, sure, Arlene.
The CSDA right now has been working on this and on the redistricting. In fact, they even put me on the committee so that we could see what's going on in this legislation. And they said that so far, right now, it's November 1st would be the voting. And, but we're waiting to see what happens. Anthony, if you know him, Mike, Anthony?
Yeah,
He's right there on it, so.
yeah, we've been dealing with Anthony, Scott and I, and so we're involved with that and watching the clock and also trying to keep Deborah in the fold and on our side and not let her get distracted by other agencies that may offer her more money to finish this up if we need her.
Great.
That may be too late, but
Any other directors have questions on this, on any of the three items Alan presented? If not, we'll move on down to meetings. Actually, I've been shying away from meetings most of this month. I did, Orange County Sand District meets Wednesday, and SARFA meets on Thursday, I believe. I did attend the elected meeting with Supervisor Foley and got a good contact for where our 1383 staff needs to be abreast of the county territories, some of which we have in our district. So it's just endless, the number of people that staff are going to have to deal with. And but anyway, I gave them one more item. Director Perry,
We did not,
SARFA.
we did not meet this week for SARFA. It's going to be
Right.
next month. We meet every other month, but they canceled it for the summer.
Okay. Secretary Schaefer, ISDOC,
Yes, to start out with, I went to the Alliance meeting, and that was on August 5th. And in fact, Mike Schaefer here is the president of it, chair. And so it was a good meeting. At that meeting, we discovered that we're doing everything right, and CSDA and SDRMA are working well together. The webinar are keeping up to date, which is something because, we can't see each other that much. And information from SDRMA and CSDA to special districts is going out very well. So that's important that we're like a team. And CSDA has been working on a new chapter. Area will include Antelope Valley, Santa Clarita, and Santa Cruz, and Mid-State, with the Alliance hosting some events to help it along too. Neil reported we are bringing in the 6th Coalition, which is really great, and it will be from South Carolina, which is outstanding for the coalition and special districts. They're really getting involved, and what that does for us is it's giving us a person to be a PR for us in Washington, D.C., so that when we want to do something and when we really want to be effective, we've got all these different states that are coming in and going with us for special districts. It's not just our own. And we have 92% membership in CSDA, and retention is 92%, so we're doing very well. We went out to California Special District Alliance Corporation marketing plan, and we went over that. So that's done. And let's see. On ISDOC, the, we're talking about the meeting we just had. Everybody loved the meeting. They thought the speaker was so well put together as far as everything that was going on with Irvine and how progressive they're getting to be. So they had that opportunity, and the special districts were talking about how they're happy to be able to take a time where they're able to explain to the other people what's going on besides just meeting at a meeting and never saying anything. So most of the meetings right now are on Zoom, and ISDOC is still on Zoom because they're setting up their room just like we had to do. And we might by October be able to have our general meeting October 28th and have that person to person. And then, let's see what else is there. Oh, that last meeting was discussed, the speaking of, I'm working on who's going to be the main speaker right now for October 28th, and that would be, we took a poll and decided, who wants to be what, and what do you think? And I read them the whole list, and they decided that the mental health in the working place would be the most interesting topic. So we're going after somebody from the Orange County medical end of it and involving that. And it should be a good topic because he'll probably have a whole background of what's been going on there. I'm sure they're keeping a record of that too. And then I went to the liaison meeting, which we always have, which is Newport Mesa Unified School District and our Mesa Water District and the city of Costa Mesa. And it was a good meeting, but it was very lengthy. It had a lot of topics on there. So, and we've decided the next meeting is in October, so we'll be doing it then. And let's see, what else is there, John? I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Director Schaefer. SDRMA report, please.
Yeah, we had our board meeting last week. It was a hybrid meeting, and, Bob, you being on Zoom and leading this meeting, I had to do Zoom because I had a little car trouble in Arizona getting back, so I got back late. Trying to run a meeting via Zoom when everybody else is in the room is really tough. But regardless of that, SDRMA, the big thing is we passed the annual budget for SDRMA, and we actually have a little bit of good news. I've been talking about our rates, our liability and our workers' comp rates have been pretty stable because we've had good experience on workers' comp. But the liability rates, the excess carriers were able to come in a little better, so I think we're going to see a little bit of relief on that. The other big item we talked about at the board meeting had to do with our safety and loss prevention meetings. And I had told you that Henrietta, or Henry as she goes by, had been here in our building. We were the first to get back on the program for in-house visits for safety and risk management. And so I attended that meeting with Diana and I think, was Tony there? Yeah, Tony. And I don't know what feedback you've gotten, Scott, but I think that meeting was really, really good. I mean, it's hard to capsulize what she talked about, but this lady knows OSHA like I can spell OSHA. I mean, she did a nice job, and I was impressed, wearing both hats to see how she interacted with Diana and Tony. And to compliment Diana and Tony, those two are really on point with our safety procedures, and they were able to answer Henry's questions. So we talked about that at the SDRMA board meeting, and I know SDRMA is really anxious to get back out and do these safety inspections and to make sure that people are aware of what's going, OSHA's in a little bit of an upheaval, sounds like anyway, so with all, with all the COVID things that they're dealing with, so it was a really good meeting, and so happy to hear that.
I received a report today, and I'm pleased to report that just very minor recommendations she made in the report,
That's what I had
very minor.
understood.
So I'll share that with the board later this week, but it was a good report.
Fantastic, so. And then next week at the annual conference, SDRMA will be hosting breakfast on Wednesday. And I don't know who the keynote speaker is, but we'll, at that board meeting, or at that annual meeting, we'll be giving out our safety awards for both workers' comp, or I guess they are safety awards. Yeah, that's Jason Hewlett. I'm not sure what he's going to talk about. But becoming legendary leaders, yeah, good topic. We're also going to be recognizing one of our SDRMA board members, Jean Bracy, who's retiring. She's retiring from the Air Quality Management District out in Victorville, and so we're going to be recognizing her, giving her a fond farewell. So that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Do any other directors have meetings that they need to report on for reimbursement?
Yeah, Bob, this is Mike again. I'm sure Art will give a better report, but Waco, the first Friday, was a good meeting. I mean, it was really interesting to see what Yorba Linda Water District has done to help with the wildfire situation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes Waco gets a little out there, and again, there are topics that maybe not directly affect us, and but I thought Yorba Linda Water District ought to be commended for what they've done, and you'd hope that more districts could tag onto that. I don't think Mesa Water could ever. That'd be tough to have that down here, but really good Waco meeting. So.
Do any other directors need to report on meetings?
I always turn mine in writing with an outlined form of what actually took place with all of the different meetings, so I'll turn that in tonight.
Okay.
I did go to the Waco one, but I think Mike said it all. Yes, it was excellent.
Okay. Let's go on down to old business then. Any old business? Any new business? Local communications and directors' comments. What I would like, Scott, did you say you're gonna publish the SDRMA report for their inspection?
Yes, I was going to share that with the board. I don't know, if I'll share with the public, but I'll definitely share it with the board.
Okay. Do any of the other directors have any communications or comments?
Yeah, I had a question or a comment.
Okay.
What are we going to do on this, on David? Are we going to put him full-time up with the trash can?
Haven't made that decision yet.
Oh,
We're-
okay.
We're still evaluating SB 1383 on how we're going to enforce those new regulations. So we're still evaluating
Oh, okay.
that
I
position.
just wondered.
If we do make it full-time, we'd have to come back to the board for approval.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't know what was going on, if it was going to get on the agenda or.
Not anytime soon, no,
Yeah.
no.
Any other directors need to communicate?
Quick question for the general manager. As I was pulling into the parking lot this evening, I noticed little orange flags. So your contractor is working?
That's the survey work that I mentioned earlier. So that's the survey that delineates the property. That's where the property line
Okay.
lies.
I-
So inside the sticks is district property, outside the stick is city property.
Okay, and the city's pretty much on board with what you're doing anyway, right?
We briefly briefed them on it, but we haven't, shared with them designs or anything like that, but
Be nice to see something other than dead grass out.
well, that's why we put the signs up there to say, hey, we're,
I know.
and plus we are trying to conserve water, so that's another.
Good call. That's it, Bob, for me.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. President,
Go ahead, Director Eccles.
All right. Just in response to public comment from Mr. Humphrey. And I think too, we've instituted these metrics and we got a pretty extensive report 2 weeks ago. Could we get like a monthly report
Yeah.
on customer complaints, time to respond? I mean, at the end of the day, we want these problems fixed. It's never going to be 100%, but it's got to get better than it is right now. So I'd be curious to see a monthly report at either a study or a board meeting that says, hey, last month we had X. We were able to resolve X in 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that. And I would think that CRR&R for their own benefit, because we are going to review them in 6 months. They'd probably be, I would think, favorable to that as well. And then the other thing, and I just could be losing my memory, which is possible, but the customer service, the number of reps, I'm not sure if they addressed that at our last meeting, but I'd be curious with that. I thought they were more addressing the drivers out, the trucks breaking down, things like that, but customer responsiveness, talk to them about how that's going. So those would be my suggestions to.
Okay, thank you. And I think probably to add to that, I think it would be important, at least for us to know how some of the other surrounding entities are dealing with, or are any of the other, say 2 or 3 or 4 local agencies, are they experiencing similar problems? And do they have anything to report? And, do they have any data?
Mr.
I'm sorry, you want me to respond to that?
Sure.
So yes.
Well, what I'd like to do is tie it into that report that Director Eccles was talking about. I don't know if it's proper to discuss it now, but
We'll put in a report.
Well, Scott could probably give you a brief comment, but it would be better to kick it over to the full discussion.
yeah. And I know you gave us that report. Had you is that private or is it public, or I don't remember when we got that.
What report you're referring to?
The report, I think, on missed trash pickup and whatnot.
No, we made that public. That's been in previous study session agendas.
Okay, yeah, and I missed the last study session, so I apologize if it was then. So I think Director Eccles asked for it to be monthly, and maybe so monthly at the study session would be my request.
Mr. President,
Director Schaefer.
I was under the assumption that the 3 people who were at this last study session were actually going to be here all the time to represent us and be able to talk. And if we feel that there's some need to talk to them and hear what they had to say and how things were going.
I believe Mike Carey from CNR is zoomed in here today, so if you want him to address any issues. So Mike Carey, are you here? Are you there?
Yes, Scott, I'm here.
So yeah, CNR is here. You want to, he can address any issues.
Well, I think that's not agendized either. But I think that should be incorporated into the report that Director Eccles asked for.
Well, Mike, are you going to be coming to the meetings like this one way or the other? Either by Zoom or in person, so that we'd have somebody here representing a CR&R and that they would understand what's going on?
Yes, I have been and will continue to be at both all of the board meetings and the study sessions.
Good, thank you.
Mike, I had one more quick thing too. I neglected under other meetings.
Okay,
I know I attended, and I believe Art did, on August 18th, Supervisor Foley conducted an all-elected roundtable or a meeting. And we got to meet supervisor staff primarily, but it was a really good meeting. I mean, it was just a nice chance to see who the other electeds are in the second district. And there was no political nonsense. It was primarily just letting some information sharing. And I thought it was handled professionally in a very worthwhile meeting to attend.
Yeah, I attended that meeting also, and I think that kind of proactive approach, is very beneficial. Any other directors needing to make communications or comments? I really miss you all. I'm looking so forward to being back and sitting in that chair. If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Night.
Good night.